Today we're going to talk about the images of the endocrine system. We will go through the endocrine system, look at the different organs, the different characteristics of those organs, the cell types of those organs, and a little bit about the function of each of those. Thank you. Images of the endocrine system. Hi, I'm Larry Johnson. I'm a professor at Texas A&M University. Today we're going to talk about the various endocrine organs: pituitary, adrenal, thyroid, and others. Now, in the pituitary gland, it has a binary origin. The pars distalis and the pars intermedia come from the oral cavity, as you see up through here from the oral cavity. However, the neural hypophysis comes from the neurological tissue from the brain. So you have some epithelial cells and nervous tissue cells over through here. So here we can see the pituitary, the pars tuberalis, the pars nervosa, pars distalis, and the pars intermedia. The pars intermedia have this colloid substance in through here, and we have a host of these epithelial cells or neurological cells in through here. Now, the pituitary interacts with a host of other organs, and those organs produce hormones that feed back either on the pituitary and or through the hypothalamus. And there are different connections with the hypothalamus. In the pars nervosa, there is a direct connection. The cell bodies are located in the hypothalamus that produce the hormones. In the pars distalis, there's a portal system. Releasing hormones are released in the portal system. It comes in through here, and then the second capillary network of the portal system feeds these cells or stimulates these cells to produce their hormones. So if we look at the pituitary gland, we can see here, this is the pars distalis, pars intermedia, pars nervosa. There's a cancer right in through there, and infundibulum stalk with the pars tuberalis in through here. So if we take a look, as I mentioned to you, the pars distalis here works with a portal system, and the pars nervosa near neurons up through here send projections down in here and actually store the hormones down in this location. So if we look at 73, we will be able to see the various parts. This is the pars distalis, as we see in through here, pars distalis, pars intermedia, and the pars nervosa, and the pars tuberalis that goes around the infundibulum stalk. And so that's what we see, and inside there we'll see a host of cells. Some are basophilic, some are cilophilic, and some have no staining at all. So these are epithelial cells, as opposed to here we'll have pituitary and axons of neurons whose cell body is actually up in the hypothalamus itself. So if we take a look at this, we can look in another view of the pars distalis. You can see a host of cells. There's acidophils, the red ones, and there's basophils, the blue ones, and there's chromophobes, some that does not take the stain at all. So those three groups of cells that we can have, as I mentioned, acidophils, basophils, and chromophobes. And also, if you look at the pars nervosa, you can see swollen ends of, not the end, but swollen regions along the axon, and these are the herring bodies. These are where the hormones are stored in the pars nervosa. And so we can see here, neurons are located in the hypothalamus. They bring down here and they store the hormone, oxytocin, ADH, located in these herring bodies. And you see the herring bodies is not really at the end, it's along the axon. A swollen part of the axon is the herring bodies that we see here. Here again we can see a herring body, that's the same as that one. This, and that are herring bodies, which are stored portions of the hormones that are coming down from those neurons that are located in through there. And You have oxytocin and ADH are the two hormones you're working with. So if we happen to look at the pars distalis and the pars nervosa with this specimen, this is what we'll see. We look at the cells. We should be able to see that some have a basophilic cytoplasm and some have acidophilic cytoplasm, and some are chromophobes. That is, they don't take up much stain at all. So I don't really see a chromophobe visited. These are the acidophils in through here, and there's also basophils as well. But there are also some cells that do not take up much stain at all, the chromophobes. In other words, they don't like the stain. However, if you look over here, we'll be able to see the pituitary and the pars nervosa, and we should be able to see some herring bodies in through here. These are blood vessels that go in through there. You do get vasculature even though you don't have a portal system. And so there must be herring bodies in here. I'm just not recognizing them. But there got to be herring bodies in through there. I just don't quite see them there and here. Let's see. I really can't see any herring bodies that are located. I just don't know what they look like in this particular view, but they should be all over. Here's one. Here's a herring body right in through there. See if we can see any more. These are cells. We'll see we're approaching the pars intermedia in through there. So we need to move back over here. Another herring body right through there. So you can see a host of these herring bodies. These are red blood cells that we see there. Here's a nice herring body right there. So we can see the herring body very nicely right there. So you have the two different regions. You have the pars distalis, pars intermedia, and the pars nervosa in through the infundibulum stalk, with the pars temporalis located in through there. So if we look at the pituitary, we can see the basophils, the chromophobes, which doesn't stick up a stain, and the acidophils. Over here you see the pituitary nuclei, and you can see some herring bodies in a couple of places. So here we can see the pars intermedia and the pars temporalis that goes around the infundibulum stalk. So if we look at that again, we can see there again. We can see the pars temporalis. We can see the pars intermedia, and we'll be able to see some cells in through here. We see acidophils, basophils, and some chromophobes that doesn't really take up stain at all, as you can see in through there. So as we look further at the pituitary, we can again infundibulum stalk, pars nervosa, pars intermedia, and next thing is the thyroid. And here we see the thyroid. This is thyroid are in follicles. Here's a follicle here. There's a follicle there. A follicle here, and also these are follicular cells and capillaries in through there, as we can see. And if we look at the thyroid, we can see the follicular cells, the colloid in through there, and this is the one that we'll be seeing today, 75. So if we look at 75, we'd be able to see the follicular cells surrounding these. These are usually simple cuboidal cells, low cuboidal cells in through there, and there's colloid, that's thyroid globulin that's stored in through there. These rich things here, the red things here, are the capillaries. So you see blood capillaries, a rich vascular supply, which is characteristic of a steroid, or characteristic of the endocrine system organs. And so if we see the thyroid again, We can see the thyroid right in through there, the follicular cells, the parafollicular cells in through here. And if we take a look at this, it's 39. We take a look at this. We look over here at the thyroid, which is just off of the respiratory component there. And so if we take a look at these, we'll be able to see a similar type of thing. You have these cube cells that are there, and a colloid in the center, and some parafollicular cells in through there as well. So there's a thyroid gland, and that brings us to the different types of organs. You've got the pituitary gland, which has granules. You've got the thyroid, which stores the secretions in the colloid outside the cell. So this is inside the cell, outside the cell. And you get the adrenal. And adrenal, you have all the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, tubular type cristae in the mitochondria. There's a nucleus over here, and there's no storage at all. So either granules, extracellular, or no storage at all. As soon as it's released, it is secreted. And so protein in this case, thyroglobulin outside the follicle, and steroids pass right through the membrane. Also, we see the parathyroid hormone, parathyroid gland, and we can see some oxyphils and some chief cells. And that's what we'll see. You see the oxyphils, the vasculature, and the chief cells. The chief cells produce the thyroid hormone, thyroid gland hormone. And so if we take a look at this one, we can see the parathyroid hormones is being produced by these cells. These are the chief cells, and these guys are the oxyphils. We don't know exactly what the oxyphils do. They're big cells with a very small dark nucleus. Don't know what they're doing there, but they are there. And then if we take a look at another parathyroid, we can see the oxyphils, and we can see vasculature in through there, and the chief cells. So this is 188. You can see it again. These are the chief cells, and here we can see that the parathyroid hormone stimulates osteoclast production. Calcitonin, which comes from the parafollicular cells, it removes a ruffled border. Here's a ruffled border of osteoclast, which is stimulated by the thyroid hormone but inhibited by the calcitonin. And so if we look at 188 here, we can see this specimen, and we can see the chief cells through there, a rich vascular supply that we see, and then somewhere we're going to see some oxyphils. Here we see oxyphils. Not sure why they're there. Darker nucleus, and a lot of cytoplasm associated with them. So that's what we see, the parathyroid hormone. And then that brings us to the adrenal. The adrenal gland has a cortex and a medulla. And blood vessels come in through here, blood percolates through, and then leaves out the central vein and the medulla. So it comes in through here, percolates through these cortex cells, and finally goes into the medulla. And in the cortex you have different layers. The zona glomerulosa, looks kind of like a glomerulus, and then the fasciculata, lots of vesicles, and then the reticularis right before you get to the medulla. And as I mentioned to you before, lots of smooth endoplasmic reticulum in steroid secreting cells like the adrenal. So this is a capsule, cortex, medulla, and the vein. So this is where you have the glomerulosa, fasciculata, and reticularis, and then the medulla. And here you got chromatin cells that produce epinephrine. So if we take a look at one of these specimens, we can see the adrenal. So this is the capsule around it, this is the cortex, and this is the medulla. So the medulla is the dark part in through here, the cortex is in through there, And in the cortex, you have the capsule, glomerulosa. Some places you can look like a glomeruli, fasciculata, a lot of vesicles, reticularis, and then the medulla is what we're seeing there, and then blood goes out of the central vein. So blood percolates down through here and then ultimately goes out the central vein. So if we look at that again, we can see the different parts of the adrenal. And here's another one. Here we see the glomerulosa, fasciculata, reticularis very nicely, and we see the spaces here. These are the capillaries out over through here that allows fluid to go through cortex and medulla. And so we have cords of cells in through here, and you have these sinuses, which blood runs through there to stimulate the cells. And then you have the chromaffin cells, which are located in the medulla. So this is cortex and in the medulla. So if we take a look at this specimen, we can see we can see the capsule around it. We can see the glomerulosa in through there, the fasciculata and the reticularis, and then finally you get the medulla. And so different hormones are produced by different locations in through there as well. So if we look at the next one, it is actually located behind pituitary is the pineal. And here we see the pineal, and this is the brain sand that they have. And the brain sand is other names for brain sand, as you can see. You see the different parts of the pineal sites, the trabeculae, connective tissue, capsule, and the different lobes that are there. So if we take a look at that specimen, that's what we'll see. And we'll see the sand that's in there. We can see the septums that run through there. And you can see the capsule. Maybe someplace you can see the capsule along the outside. Dense irregular connective tissue is what's in the capsule. As we look to that is the pineal gland that produces melatonin, and then we have the pancreas, and the pancreas has an exocrine function, which is the pancreatic aster cells. Then it has an endocrine function, which is the islets of Langerhans. And there you have alpha cells and beta cells, and they produce insulin and glucagon. And here we can see that this is one of those islets of Langerhans. You can see a rich vascular supply. So these are the cells, endocrine cells, exocrine cells in through there. And you can see that the beta cells are located in the center, and the alpha cells are located on the outside. So if we take a look at this specimen, we can see the different, you can see the pancreatic aster cells, the ducts that we have there. But now we're after looking at the endocrine aspect of it. And so here you can see the endocrine islets of Langerhans that are located there. There's another one right here. And these would be the alpha cells and the beta cells of the islets of Langerhans, responsible for hormone production. Here's another one to see a rich vascular supply that we have. So we have insulin and glucagon, as opposed to these guys, which produce pancreatic aster juices. So if we look at the pancreas, also another pancreas is in 70s slide. These are pancreatic aster cells. They have blue cytoplasm at the base, and then you have the secretions. You see the ducts that are there. We take a look at that specimen. We'll be able to see the different, these are exocrine function, and then the endocrine that are located, lighter staining that we see there. So those are the islets Langerhans that we can see there, with the alpha and beta cells located there in the center. So that's pretty much what we have, the pancreas. We want to thank various books that contributed pictures and the illustrations, and that is the end of the images of the endocrine system. If this were useful, please subscribe to the YouTube site and please tell your neighbor. Thank you.